Hey lads and ladies, I'm the Jawesome one, and welcome to RimWorld Zombie City. This is an edited playthrough that is inspired by the YouTuber Roll1D2 Games. He did a similar he is doing actually a similar series called Undead City, and this is inspired largely by two things, mainly Zombieland and Rim City, and then pretty much everything else goes. Mine is kind of taking its own path. His series, in his playthrough, he plays in an abandoned city, and then I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to be like the prequel to what happens in his world. My story is going to take place in the prequel. What it's going to be like is I'm going to have a lot of zombies, but they're going to be much weaker. So I'm going with this idea that the zombies I'm going to be dealing with is that they're fresh and they're brand new zombies, and so the virus hasn't completely taken hold of the host. There's some fighting back, there's some conflictions, and so there's still some weakness. The virus hasn't become very powerful. Now, of course, some people were suggesting the idea of doing more like the Walking Dead zombies in his playthrough because, well, they're older, so it would make more sense realistically that the zombies would be worn out. Unfortunately, Combat Extended doesn't really allow us, anybody really, to take the realistic route very well with RimWorld because it's just so incompatible with so many other mods that would also make RimWorld more realistic. So I don't really agree with going down that route, and honestly, for my series, I'm just going to base what I'm going to do as though we're a prequel to his own. So our mod list is going to be similar in a lot of ways, but also in a lot of ways it's going to be different. So I'm going to go ahead and click mods here and open that up for you so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here's the exact mod list that I have. I'm using the exact same mod manager that he uses, and I'm also setting things up in a very similar order. This, again, I started off from his mod list, and then I just made changes based on what I thought would be cool or would be neat, as well as keeping up with kind of what's going on around his series. So if there are any other mods that you guys would like to see me add, please let me know in the comments section. I'm always willing to add more stuff in. I would love to see more stuff as long as it doesn't cause red errors to appear. So starting up, this actually does nothing for me. I probably should remove it. Rim Sentinel is one of the big differences between our series. And maybe he has Rim Sentinel as well. I don't know. I didn't really base this off of his current mod set for the newer Zombie Undead series, because he did like a part 2, I guess, so to speak, because he made a lot of changes. So I didn't really look at the mod list of that. I'm going off of the original mod set. But one thing I'm doing that is definitely different is Rim Sentinel. I also am adding the cosmetic horrors from Call of Cthulhu. Yeah. So that's going to be fun, fighting those things along with a whole horde of zombies. Quest tab. Yeah, again, tab for quests. I'm going to be doing those every time I get a quest that involves me to leave the base. This is actually really important. I need to leave the base, and I'll mention this again later on. Real Fog of War. I'm not going to keep this around forever. I'm actually going to use it for what I call stage 1 all the way up until stage 4 begins. Once stage 4 begins, I'll remove the Fog of War, and I'll get into that soon. Let's see here. Yeah, Rim Cities, absolutely necessary. Obviously, you can't do this playlist without Rim Cities. Dirt walls and floors to make it a lot easier for me to set up and establish my base and just get everything started. Of course, dirt floors are extremely weak. They break down very easily. So if I get raided, for example, or anything like that, the dirt walls and floors will not hold up. They will be destroyed very quickly and very easily. They're just meant to work as a temporary help to get me set up, and that's it. That's all it's meant to do. Simple sidearms. Yeah, obviously you gotta have simple sidearms. Oh yeah, the Rim Sentinel, I added all the Rim Sentinel stuff, all of it. I know I kind of mentioned Rim Sentinel already, but there you go. Glitter tech for late game stuff, and also it apparently attracts Glitter World Commandos, and there's another late game mod that I have that I'll show you in a minute. Hospitality. I like the idea of having visitors show up to actually try to come into my base, even though there's going to be like 3,000 zombies surrounding it at pretty much at all times. Hall to stack. I don't really need to go over that one, do I? Infectious creatures. just some poisonous creatures. I'm wondering how that will affect the zombies, if it will at all. So if a venomous snake bites a zombie, what is that going to do? Will it kill the zombie slowly? Will that actually do anything at all? That's something I'm curious about. Maybe it'll just cause a red error to appear. I don't have a clue what that's going to do. More faction interactions. So I'm going to get more, missions. I can build up faction. I can build up trust easier, but I can also tear it down. Yeah, like, see, warring. Oh, ooh. I didn't know about this. I actually didn't really read over the mod. I just kind of saw it and was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I like that idea. Metal doesn't burn. Extremely, extremely important metal doesn't burn, because steel burns way more than anything that's realistic in RimWorld. Steel actually does burn in real life, but it's just really bad in RimWorld. It's like it's not just steel, it's steel wool that walls are built out of in RimWorld. And it just burns super easy, and it doesn't make any sense at all that it burns that quickly and that easily. So I'm using metal doesn't burn. Extra stone, just because I like the look of it. It's really just aesthetic reasons. Snap out is a big one. Gives your pawns the ability to try to calm down a pawn if they go on a mental break. That is super important, because I obviously don't want one of my colonists to go on a mental break and then run outside where there's a bunch of zombies and get eaten up just because he can't control his temper. Or I don't want him to go into a mental rage, for example, and then start bashing down one of the weaker walls on the outside and then break it, and then zombies come in. I don't want to risk that, so snap out, I'm taking it. Miscellaneous training is a big one for me. I never play a game of RimWorld without miscellaneous training. I love this mod. So it allows it allows you to train your colonists on shooting and melee while also giving them some joy. And I really like that. It makes sense. It's just like in real life. It improves your ability to shoot or whatever, and it's fun. I personally have gone and done archery, and I love it. So it makes sense that this would be a joy thing, and it really should be in vanilla RimWorld. I can't believe it's not already in vanilla RimWorld. Now, here, grazing lands. This is actually a big one. Animals don't destroy grass and eat according to their size. So if I get, like, say, a tamed buffalo in my base, right? Basically, grazing lands means that he's not just going to instantly destroy all my crops immediately. It basically means that he's going to... Let's say I was trying to grow some herb, what is it called? Herbal medicine, right? If I was trying to grow some herbal medicine, and then I have a buffalo, right? And he eats a whole bunch of it because they can eat a whole lot. But let's say for the very last one that they eat, now even if they don't need to eat the whole plant to get the nutritional value that they need, they would still eat the whole thing in vanilla. They would still eat the whole thing, and so there would be that extra nutritional value lost, and you would lose out on the whole plant. Well, grazing lands sort of fixes that, where now an animal only eats what it needs off the plant, and then the plant will actually heal itself and grow back, and it can still produce crops for you. Grazing lands is a big deal. Minify everything, super important for this, and I'll get into it once I get into what stage 1 through 4 are, what phase 1 through 4 are, whatever you want to call it. Pawn education is super cool, because not only will your pawns talk to one another, will your colonists, but if you, say, have visitors over, or if if you have like visitors over or allies over, people who aren't enemy to you, occasionally you guys will teach each other stuff. It all depends on who has a higher skill level than what, and it's all RNG based, but it's still an incredible mod because it doesn't actually waste any of the colonists' time. It's just simply like a passing by thing. Colonists will walk by each other, they'll have their normal social interaction thing. They don't like sit down and spend, an hour or whatever. And it just gives a slight boost, and it also gives a little bit of joy if the person doing the teaching has a passion for it. Replace stuff is a big deal. I said before how I can place dirt mounds. Well, eventually I'm going to need to replace those dirt mounds with actual walls, and this is something that can actually help out with that, among replacing a bunch of the other walls. You can change everything from wood into slate or whatever. SS researchable stat upgrades. I love the idea of this mod. I've never been able to do anything with it because there's always so many things that you need to upgrade and that you need to research in the early game. And I'm not the type of guy that usually lasts into late game just because you know, in the past I didn't have very good specs on my PC. Excuses, la 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 la. I just never really got around to using this, but I love the idea of it. Okay, rebalanced tilled soil. That's a pretty awesome thing right there. 120%. I kind of agree with Roll1D2 Games. I don't know what his actual name is. I kind of agree with him on this one that the regular tilled soil is too OP at 200%. But I like 120. That's a pretty good amount. Optimization for meats. You know, it just simply reduces meat variety because they're all used for the same thing anyway, so there's no point to it. The only reason you wouldn't want this is if you're running with like vegetable gardens mod. Rim HUD. Oh, I love this one. I love this one. So every time I click on a colonist, it just changes. Well, it changes the UI, and it looks good. It gives you all the info that you need to. All you need to do is take a second to look at it, and it's not hard at all to figure out what things mean or what they're all about. Very useful mod. EDB prepare carefully. You don't need this mod, but it sure does make things a lot easier and a lot nicer because it lets you save presets for different characters. And you'll see in a second, I do have a couple of saved preset characters. So now you've seen what all the mods are. This is all the mods that matter. So now that I've gotten the mod list out of the way, now I'm going to show you guys how to set up a game, and what it typically looks like. And then I'm going to explain to you my stage 1 through 4 process and how we're going to come about that. And then I'll actually start the series off. Should be out tomorrow with episode 1 of this brand new series. I'm super excited for it. But now let me show you guys how to actually set up a game. So you go to New Colony, and if you play with the Rim City mod, like you should have it installed, you get to choose between either an abandoned city or a friendly city. And of course the description is kind of goofed up, and you do have all this like start with stuff, but I wouldn't worry about what any of that says. The big deal here is that you choose between an abandoned city or a friendly city. Don't try to use the scenario editor. I've already tried. You can't work with it. I don't know why. I don't know how to work with it. I'm not a modder. I kind of wish I was though, because then I could maybe figure out how to build my own custom scenario. That way I don't need to customize quite as much. But oh well, it's not that big a deal because I found a way around that anyways. So Roll1D2 Games, he went with the abandoned city as I explained in the start. So my idea is that I'm starting with the prequel. So that means that the cities are populated. There's going to be a lot of people in them. Because they haven't yet been hit with the zombie apocalypse. The zombie apocalypse just got started. So we're going with the friendly city. And then we're going to go with Randy Random on Savage. And we're going to go with commitment mode. There we go. And we'll just randomize the seed till we get something that looks good. There you go. Humantic, I guess. Sure. Why not? And I'll go with 50% globe coverage just because it gives me more options. And let's generate. Okay, Zombieland settings. I should probably go over this. Okay guys, now I'm going to go over with you real quick on my Zombieland settings, what these settings are and how, you know, they're going to function throughout the entire game. So, when do zombies appear? When it is dark. They're only going to appear when it's dark outside. And this even includes dark areas during the daytime, as you can read on the right here. Now, they only come from the map edges because, well, I just think it's a lot more reasonable. I think it's a lot more fair, especially considering what I'm up against. And you're going to see what I'm talking about pretty soon. The zombies will attack every creature, including animals. However, everything will also attack them in return. The zombies will only destroy doors, but they'll only destroy doors when they're agitated. However, their senses are elevated, right? Their senses are elevated. They can detect you from a very large distance. But if enough zombies come together, some of them will start to what they call rage. Zombies can become enraged if a tight group of zombies gets too large. They have red eyes and they start automatically walking towards your colonists, and then the entire group will sort of follow them. So even if you're on the complete other side of the map, they will still detect you and they'll start walking towards you. On top of that, the ones that become enraged, they will become stronger and faster. So this means it's extremely important for me to find and destroy any zombie groups as soon as they prop up. Next thing is zombie health. Zombies are easy to kill and they recover from injuries. So I want them to be easy to kill because, again, I mentioned this previously as I was going through the mods, but I'll explain it here again real quick. So I made it easy to kill because the idea is that these zombies are fresh, they're brand new, which means the virus has only just taken hold. So there is still a little bit of resistance, not only from their host, from the brains of the civilians that they're hosting, but the virus hasn't completely gained all of its power just yet. I really intend for the idea behind these zombies to be kind of more like your superpower type of zombies, right? Because that's what happens in the Roll1D2 game series, is that he has very few zombies, but he has this disabled, and I believe he also has zombies recover from injuries enabled. So those zombies are extremely tough, and they're difficult to deal with, and they're very lethal. So that's the main difference between our series right there. For the special zombies, honestly, I think I'm going to tone down the electrifying zombies down to 2%. There we go. But yeah, toxic splashes, tanky, mining, electrifying zombies. These guys are a nightmare. These zombies and these zombies alone are the only reason why after stage 4 begins, which I'll explain to very soon, I'm going to remove the Real Fog of War mod because I want you guys to actually be able to see all the action. Once stage 4 starts, you guys won't be able to watch the entire city fighting off the zombie horde, as well as my civilians joining in on the fight from time to time and trying to establish that base and get everything prepared. So I really don't like the idea that I can't show you guys what's going on. Well, technically I can show you, but that means I have to build these special cameras that come with the mod. But in order to get to those cameras, I have to first research them, and then after I research them, I have to defend them from these stupid electrifying zombies, because they will be protected by an electric force field from all damage. They can only be hurt by melee, which means effectively turrets are completely useless. Turrets are completely useless against these, and they will exclusively go after electrical objects. I think this is absolutely ridiculous, and I don't want to have to constantly deal with them breaking down and destroying my cameras, and then rendering my vision, my ability to see what they're doing, null. I don't like that. So I'm not going to be playing around with the Real Fog of War mod once stage 4 kicks in. New game, days until zombies come. 4. I think that's a good idea. Technically, it's 5 days really, because once the zombies show up, it's going to be pretty much daytime already, and I just think it's fair. I have the same settings pretty much that Roll1D2 Games did for his first Zombie Cities playthrough. Never more than 5,000 zombies, and if there's a zombie event, 200 per colonist come in, and they're going to treat me like I'm 6.5 times better than I actually am at defending my colony. Partly this is because of the city, and partly is because I want a good challenge. However, to compensate for the sheer huge size of zombies, I did tone down their speed a little bit to 0.1 times and 0.12 times for when they get excited. And I think that's fair. I think it makes sense considering everything that I've been stating up until now. The zombie strength multiplier, the damage multiplier, is brought up to 2 times. They do double damage. I have reduced turret gun consumption down to 80%. This is actually a big deal because some of the turrets that I've added from other mods still require some form of ammo. They either require steel or they require like uranium or something else. I've made it so that it's actually I'm gonna make it 99%. I saw that in one of his latest episodes. They made it 99% infectious. I love that. I can't explain why, but I love that idea. But I also want to allow treatment in a bed to be able to stop infections. So you have a pretty small window to cure the infection. I know this seems like a big window probably to some of you, but if you've ever played RimWorld and you end up in a really screwy situation, like having all of your colonists downed, then this is actually a much smaller window than it seems like it is. That is the Zombieland settings mod. Now for location, I'll show you exactly where I'm going to pick. This isn't where I'm actually going to pick. I'm actually going to get started on the series later on once episode 1 begins. But let's just kind of go with somewhere random. Just to give you an idea. We want year-round growth. We want year-round growing. We want somewhere where there's like a road, and we also want places that can grow pretty reasonably well. For advanced, I'm gonna just go ahead and leave the map size as a medium because I don't have the strongest computer. And then finally, prepare mod, load preset. There we go. So here's the story, okay? I, the Jawesome one, was informed by a mad scientist that there is a zombie infection breaking loose, and he just found the cure. And he actually gave me some of the information that I needed to research and get the cure for myself. And he even gave me one of the copies of his serum. And of course, I do the only thing that I think I can. I grab the nearest person that I know, which just happens to be this lady, and I'm gonna pretend that she's like a college student who just has a whole bunch of useless degrees and over like $50,000 in student debt, but she has a whole lot of degrees in just random things that don't actually help her get a career, even though these stats kind of indicate otherwise. But yeah, so that's the thing. And then I also set up just kind of random traits. So the thing that makes a lot of sense to me is that most college-age students these days seem to be very kind people, right? I know I'm getting a bit political here, but this is kind of true. That I think in my experience, most college-age students, most people my age, just seem to be very, very kind and very, very optimistic. They view the world through this certain lens, and I just think that this is kind of fitting. Strong, and then everything else is just kind of random. Like I thought, okay, yeah, I would like for her to be a hard worker. You know, she can be a jogger, sure. She can be beautiful, sure. And then for me, I chose things that are kind of synonymous with my real life character, except for this. This was randomly generated. But I am actually an abrasive personality. I get myself into so much trouble because of the things that come out of my mouth. If you keep up with my channel, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm also a careful shooter. I am not the kind of person to just I'm not a trigger finger kind of guy when it comes to combat. I've played enough first-person shooters, and I'm sure there's plenty of evidence for it across my channel. But every time I allow myself to slow down and take time to think about my shot, I'm usually way more accurate. And I think this is a perfectly reasonable trait to give myself. Coordinated. Yeah, I am pretty coordinated, and I don't mean to toot my own horn here, but I'm not half bad. I can do just about anything without it being a big deal. Now, of course, I am super sexy. Everybody knows, so I gave myself pretty, because handsome doesn't exist. I am an optimist. Despite how I may appear sometimes, I am an optimist, and I am steadfast. I'm not, some kind of super genius who can handle everything, but steadfast I think is appropriate. And of course the backstory, I just kind of left it alone. I didn't really touch it. But I like how it started me off as an apprentice blacksmith and then a blacksmith in adulthood. I don't know why, but I find that really funny. And then for the equipment, I just grabbed some like basic medicine from home, and then a longbow. Oh yeah, that's right. I don't have arrows, but I do, in real life, I do have my own longbow. I think probably a short bow would be more, I guess more realistic, like that's what it actually is. But I went ahead and just put longbow. It doesn't really matter. The point is I have a bow, and I love my bow. But there you go. That's what it's going to look like once I actually start. Now I'm going to finally explain to you guys what I've been building up and holding on to for so long now. I'm going to use some clips to show you guys what you can expect throughout the series, and just in general give you a feel of what's coming. So stage 1 is the exploration phase. I start off, because of the Real Fog of War mod, I start off not knowing anything about my environment. I have no idea what things are going to look like when I land. I don't know where is going to be the most defensible place I can set up. I don't know where to find good gear. I don't know if there's places that have, say, already pre-built freezers and rec rooms and just, in general, useful areas for me. And so I have to think about that. I have to plan that out. I have to seriously consider everything. I can't just simply make up a bunch of nonsense. I can't just simply just run around and just randomly set up an area. I have to think strategically, and I have to think of the long term. And so that's going to be a very big deal, and that's why the exploration phase is so important. For me, the exploration phase is going to take up about a day and a half in-game time. And that's if I'm optimizing the 2 starting colonists well, and actually, microing them both to uncover as much area as possible. You should be watching some gameplay footage of me right now doing just that. And yeah, that's what you can kind of expect everything to look like for phase 1. Okay, so moving on. Now we're on to phase 2 or on to step 2, whichever you want to call it. Step 2 is what I call the planning/building phase. This is the phase where I actually start claiming, where I start using the claim function to start gathering a bunch of the city's stuff into my own pre-selected area and start setting up defenses. So this includes turrets, this includes setting up the rec room, this includes setting up bedrooms, this includes setting up a cooler, this includes setting up, everything that's related to structures and things that I can use the Minify Everything mod on. Essentially, everything I can use the Minify mod on, I'm going to use it. And this also includes a lot of deconstruction, because I need to do things like remove any beds that me and the other colonist Emmy won't be using, because I want to encourage the citizens to stay out of my base, because eventually I'm going to put myself in bad relations with them by claiming the things that belong to the city. It's also why I have so many other faction related mods. I want to be able to have an easier way to build and destroy faction relations, because it's so quick and easy to take a faction that you're good standings with and then just totally crush it. So that's a thing. Finally, phase 3. Phase 3 is literally the final part of step 2. It should take place during the last part of the day or during the last, say, half a day. And really, this is the kicker here. This is the biggest part, because this is the part where the once allied city will turn against my colonists, because we will start going out and taking advantage of what we did in phase 1 and then start actually picking up the best loot, the best armor, the best guns, the best resources, and carrying as much of it as I possibly can back into my base before the relations reach -75. Once you pass -75, you can't go back. They will be forever angry with you, and they will send raids after you, and they will attack you, they will steal your things. But hopefully the zombies will make that slightly less of a problem. So now we move on to the biggest incident of the bunch. Stage 4. This is when the zombies show up. And when the zombies show up, it's going to be hell, it's going to be tough, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be so much fun. This is the part where I'm going to save and exit out of the game, and then I'm going to remove the Real Fog of War mod so you guys can actually watch the town's citizens fight off the zombie horde while me and Emmy pretty much bunker inside the base and finish installing and setting everything up. This is going to be so much fun, and I really can't wait. I'm super excited to do it, but unfortunately I can't record that right now because it's super late and I need to get to bed, and I also need to address a whole bunch of emails and stuff. So yeah, real life getting in the way of YouTube, everybody. Yeah, blame God or something. I don't know what you people do whenever you have things that you need to blame problems on, but that's how it's going to be. That's what it is. That's how it is. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the episode 1 of Zombie City. Take care. Love you guys and have a good one. Bye-bye.